Welcome one, welcome all to episode 204 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, November 18th, 2023. I'm your host, Luke Lohr, the Insipid Ghost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. And in this episode, we discuss the continued deliberations around the Game Awards and controversy that comes with it. What's old is new as nostalgia drives the industry. Several games are riding the nostalgic wave to bring content to gamers, and we have several updates to Xbox first-party titles along with Black Friday sales. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logun, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness to those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a busy week, but it's been a fantastic week. We got the Game Awards nominations to go over, but I also got a whole bunch of PC parts thanks to like Black Friday sales and stuff like that. So
there you go.
I'm waiting for the CPU to get delivered on Tuesday, and then I'm just short a video card. And once I have the CPU, I'm probably going to start throwing this thing together. So I'm stoked because I haven't had a new PC since 2017, and that was the pre-built that I'm using right now. So I haven't built a PC in decades. So this will be fun.
That's cool, man. Congratulations on that. I know Rick was asking me about kind of which ones you picked up and stuff like that. So how much money have you spent and how much money have you saved in building your new rig? Because this is a rig that's going to do content creation, gaming. It's going to do a lot for you.
Yeah. God, how much have I spent? That's I know that I've spent well over $1,000. I'm looking at it right now. Let's see. So the cooler was 140. The motherboard was 300. The PCU was 270. The main storage I got was like over 200. I think the new storage that I got was a 4 terabyte, was also around 200, plus the fans and everything else. Let's see, the case was 150. Fans, I think, were like around 70 to 80. God, what else? CPUs like 700. And I still have the GPU, which I'm hunting down for. So I'm trying to keep that around like $1,000, if possible, for like a 4080.
And what you're going to be making content for Keelhauled. You're going to be capturing like this. That's what this is all for, right?
Yeah, this is effectively like trying not to have my CPU, which is an old 2000. It's an i7 before they had i9s, and it's from 2017. It is effectively the thing that is bottlenecking all of my work. Like the NVIDIA GeForce 1080 I have actually still does pretty good because both of my monitors are 75 75 hertz at 1080, and it like usually graphics aren't too bad. It's realistically my CPU that is bottlenecking everything, and I'm running up to like the 16 gigs of RAM that I have. So I've got 32 sitting over there. I've got 6 terabytes of storage on NVMe storage flash. One of them's like a Gen 5. One of them's a Gen 4. I know I overpaid for the Gen 5, but I don't care. And then I've got a really nice AMD Ryzen CPU coming in that will hopefully take care of a lot of these issues.
I know some of those words, and I'm pretty proud of myself. Like I'm
glad. I'm glad for you because I know it's a lot to go over. And it's funny because the people that know what I'm talking about are going to be like, well, yeah, but I need more details like that. Like saying you have a Ryzen 7 like or a Ryzen 9, like that's not going to tell me enough. They want to know more about the Ryzen 9 stuff.
I believe you. I totally believe you. Like I know when people ask me questions about stuff like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, like it's got buttons, and like I turn it on and like it lights up, and that's dope. And then others are like, the GeForce now of the G4 graphics card, it inserts to the slot matrix of the flux capacitor. I'm like, yep.
All the RGBs. I got RGBs for days.
There you go. Very cool, dude. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm genuinely excited for you because having been the recipient of Ainsley Bowden's kindness way earlier this year and getting my computer and seeing what a difference it does to just the stress level of creating content.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you because I was getting bottlenecked on my little laptop, render times and edit, and I was learning it all on the fly. It's not fair to say self-taught, but it is fair to say like I was learning on the fly and not understanding stuff because it's not my realm. So it was a frustration. So I'm really glad you're getting what you need for sure. It has unsuccessfully, or sorry, I should rephrase. It has stopped me from successfully bullying you into buying a game I want you to play. And that was very frustrating because I was trying to peer pressure you into it. And I want you to know, Logan, I was trying to get him to buy Call of Duty, everybody, because he wouldn't buy Call of Duty on Xbox. He did end up getting it on PlayStation of all things. But the funny part was we had a big plan, Logan. As soon as you bought and downloaded Modern Warfare 3 to play with us, we were going to be like, let's jump into Fortnite. We were so ready. We had a plan ready to go. And then,
oh my gosh. That's so funny.
Yeah, but we had all like private chat. We're like, all right, if you can get him to do it, he's gonna be like, all right, let's go. We're gonna be like, well, we're on Fortnite, or Halo's got Halo 3 update. We're gonna do something like that.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe you guys have a private chat outside of our private chat.
We don't have one standard like that, but it was like when you no, it wasn't a private chat. It was you jumped off. You remember you got off last night to go get it? That was what we were gonna do. We're like, all right, when he gets
some tikka masala. It was good.
I don't know what that means. What's tikka masala?
Oh my gosh. I found out about that. It's Indian cuisine. It's the most like safe Indian cuisine you could get.
So I would die if
it's not spicy at all. It's actually really, 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 really mellow, but it's really tasty too.
That's cool. Nice, man. Nice.
Yeah. I made some of that, and then I came back on and Joseph hooked me up and I got to play. Everyone left, but I still got to play.
We had been on for 2.5 hours.
That's nothing.
2.5 hours.
That's nothing. 2.5 hours. Listen to that. That's the person hosting this show. 2.5 hours of Call of Duty is too much.
That's not fair. We all know I burn out. We all know I burn out. I get real tired. It's a thing. It's a thing. So, well, I want to give words of kindness to DJ Hero and Ainsley Bowden. Now, they've gotten shout outs before on this show, but DJ Hero's merch has finally started rolling out to patrons.
Yeah.
I saw Suddy and his wife wearing the hat. Clint was telling me his stuff was coming the day of recording. I'm really excited by that because the merch was never like for me. I just like seeing them happy, you know what I mean, and getting something that they enjoy. So that's really cool. And if you're interested, guys, there's a link in the description. But it supports DJ Hero, who put it together. Like it supports him, and our people are getting to wear some cool stuff and do some holiday shopping with it. So it's neat, like cool card wallets and things. It was fun. So
yeah,
and Ainsley Bowden, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I love mine. I still have mine. Like I keep mine like close by. I've got mine like all the time.
Nice. That's really cool, dude. That's really cool. I have been. I'm sorry. I want to give my separate shout out, which was to Ainsley Bowden, who is now traveling to work again, and he sent me a screenshot. He was listening to the show, and he hasn't listened to the show in a while because he hasn't been traveling. And like that's a reality of podcasts, right? When you make content and your schedule, if you're working at home or whatnot, and you're not able to, you just don't get to. Like I don't get to hear as many people's podcasts since I live close to work. It's just a reality, you know.
Yeah.
But it did make my day that he had listened to the episode, and it was cool. So that's awesome. There we go.
That's really cool. That's nice. Yeah, I would have to shout out PTK Blam, who had an accident last week and didn't get to even do. It was their something going on with his hand. I didn't want to. Not my story to tell.
Is he okay? You can't just lead with it. Is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
Oh, God, I didn't know.
I wouldn't shout him out and then be like, so everyone, hope you guys can make it to the funeral. Shout out to PTK Blam, who invited me, and that was a nice thought before he died. No, he's fine. But
irrationally nervous just now. Like, oh God,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to trigger you. But he reached out this week because when he had to cancel, I was like, no biggie, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Hopefully we'll get together in the future. And I left it at that, not assuming anything. And then he reached out like on Thursday, and he's like, hey, are we still good for this weekend? I'm like, oh, do I get to still come back on? I still get to go back on. So I'm looking forward to today, much like I did last week, getting to go over to the Shop podcast and talk with them. a lot about probably what we're going to be talking about this week.
Yeah, I'm sure. Which is expected and good, I would say.
Yeah.
Good, because there's some interesting topics to
Oh
kind
yeah.
of go with all of this for sure. Um, I know I'm anxious to talk about like kind of the whether or not certain games are snubs at the game awards and things like that. What it actually means, the value of it. I also like the updates that are coming to a bunch of games. But I before we read our patrons, I do want to give some housekeeping. I just put out an interview with the Immortals of Avium director Brett Robbins, who you might know from making Dead Space, the Lord of the Rings game that was really good on PS2, Return of the King, and Call of Duty. He's made all of those, and then he made Immortals of Avium, started his own studio, and obviously they had to do layoffs of their their staff. They had not nearly the sales they were hoping to have, despite using Unreal Engine 5. They just hit a bad window, and there was a lot of frustration there. He was willing to come on, have a chat with me about all the tough conversations. He talked about the Series S and the problems that brings. He talked about Game Pass possibilities, talked about PlayStation Plus possibilities. He talked all about the story and crafting the narrative. It was a genuinely great experience, and I hope people do check it out. It got written up on a few sites. I saw PS Lifestyle and Pure Xbox picked it up, and Windows Central, I think, is doing something with it. But like, it was cool. It was neat. So it really meant a lot that he was willing to join me and talk about some difficult topics, especially with all the layoffs in the industry. And so I want to point people to that. If you missed it, your algorithm didn't work with you, check it out, please, because it is to me very impressive that he was willing to join kind of that
Yeah.
level of discussion.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a really good interview. I was really bummed that I didn't get to make it. I was working at the moment. So unfortunately, because of the time difference between us, I didn't get a chance to jump in, but genuinely a really interesting and good perspective on, like, as a someone who used to make games predominantly, going into the whole leadership role of having your own studio, and just his pedigree alone is some of my favorite content in generations. I've loved the PS2 Lord of the Rings. That was like one of my favorites growing up, in like at a GameStop and being able to play those. Some of the best like movie tie-ins that you could get back in the day. And honestly, like, that interview is really, really unique to come from a situation where no one expected Baldur's Gate 3 to be as popular as it was, and to know like what your competition is going to be, but then have something like Baldur's Gate come into the room and just dominate the zeitgeist. It's hard to know, like, you're going into a launch week with that, plus Armored Core, plus Starfield just after, plus all the other little games that were coming up around the time, plus some of the big hitters like Final Fantasy 16, Spider-Man 2, and stuff like that. To still like have faith in your product speaks a lot of like the time and passion that they put into that game. And Digital Foundry just put out a really good video showcasing why Immortals of Avium is one of the best showcases for Unreal 5 that doesn't come from Unreal. And that speaks a lot to what people are able to do with this engine right now, and gives me a lot of hope for companies like the Coalition, who are currently dabbling in it for the next Gears project.
It'll be they are equating this to a relaunch of that game, and
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see if it picks up because it's half off everywhere, except Steam at the moment, but that's just 'cause the sale's starting a little bit later.
Steam has sales going on all the time, so I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get it right now, then you could probably get it later too.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And in short, like the game, you and I championed that game, but I think we're one of a very few group of people that played it. You know what I mean? Like it was
Yeah.
rated pretty darn well by quite a few places, and so I'm hopeful it gets kind of that second look that I think it deserves. Um, we're not doing game award lists per se, but I think we're going to definitely do some sort of call out to games that people have missed or people that lists that people should put their eye on. And Immortals of Avium is genuinely a great experience for gamers, and so I hope they are able to check it out.
Yeah.
For sure.
I still think we should do like a game of the year for the sevens.
Yeah,
Since
yeah, some sort of like hidden gems or in case you
Yeah.
missed it awards or something like that. I
we
would
should do
love that.
something.
Yeah, I fully agree. Uh, because it's deserving of that. I think a lot of
Yeah.
games get overlooked, and in this year, how could they not? Right?
Yeah.
How could they not?
Especially this year.
Big time. Big time. Well, I think it's important that we read our patron shout outs because they make this show happen. They keep the lights on, the content coming. They help us do things like purchase computers, games for coverage. They help us do Zencaster and any other number of things that just come with running a podcast, and we are appreciative of them. I'm going to tackle this one this week, good sir.
All right.
We would like to give a shout out to our tier 2 and 3 patrons: Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Nicholas Downey, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randall Thor 19, Silkenet, Rick Gaffney, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master James Suddy, Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you guys for supporting us over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We appreciate you. And I'm looking forward to our next community episode at the end of the month. We put out our community episode for last month. That's now available for everybody over on YouTube. And Butch joined us. Rick Davis joined us. And Clint Coombs joined us. Man, I'm slurring my words here. They joined us for a great community episode. That was an absolute blast. The Battlefield debates are going to be ongoing for sure.
Oh yeah. Until it dies, and then they'll have to come over to Call of Duty.
They'll have to.
EA will shut it down.
Clint's already with us, by the way.
I know. It's the funny thing.
Yep. Well, Logan, I think the biggest topic will be Game of the Year conversations, but I want to put that on hold and do some of the smaller stories first. Mainly because I think a lot of people are seeing some of these Game of the Year conversations, and I'd like to just kind of chat about some of the cooler stuff that has happened in the Xbox community this past week. Starting with Redfall. Redfall got its third update this week alongside a pretty heavily discounted Black Friday sale. This is Game Update 3. And it was, I think, Game Update 2 that did some massive changes to the game and really cleaned up the UI for a lot, and not the UI, I'm sorry, the frame
AI.
rate and the AI. Thank you. The AI and just a lot of really good stuff happening in Update 2. And this is more kind of quality of life stuff that's happening with Update 3. Brought some new weapons in, cleaned up a lot of the experiences. And I was very impressed, Logan, with Update 2 and how playable it made the game on console for even naysayers, right?
Well, we got the 60 frames. That's what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And it came, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Very smooth, very fun. Worth going back to for those that had an enjoyment of it. Game Update 3 brings a lot of just kind of clean quality of life stuff. And because it's heavily discounted, because we're in Game Pass on the other side of a big release window, if you've kind of played the stuff that you had planned to play, I will still say there's something to this game and there's something here for it. And by no means is it perfect, but I think it's now worth your time to dive in if you were you were frustrated by the frame rate or AI experience. It just wasn't right for you, or you were just curious. Now's a good time to do it. If you're Game Pass, do Game Pass. If it's very cheap on the Black Friday sale, 75% off, I would say give it a go at this point. I'm glad they're still updating it and working on it. I was worried.
Well, we still got 2 characters, man. There's still two Bite Back Edition characters that were due. So I don't anticipate they're going to stop this. I actually think that in the year's anniversary, we'll get the final drop for the 2 new characters and potentially an update like with a new zone and a new boss. I think we're going to get DLC for this because it feels like the team that are working on this are still very passionate to be working on it 6 months after launch. And to see, it on a steep discount right now, I think it's like 75% off, which I think is, where did I write it down? It is $20 if you just want to buy it. And that's like, I mean, at $20, that's a great deal for a game that's got, what started out as like a Cyberpunk 2077 kind of conversation around like the playability of it and like the AI and stuff like that and the frame rate issues that they had. The updates that they've put to this have really kind of solidified this as a good to great game. Like they've done a really good job of bringing up what the issues were. I think there's still some issues that are in there, like being able to, I would still love to be able to play offline if possible. And I would still love to have the drop in, drop out of multiplayer, having people like want to jump in and having to go back out to the main menu and start up the game off of someone else's save or my save is kind of a bummer. But outside of that, I think that I'm looking forward to the new update because they just added a new sniper rifle that the first bullet in the magazine is a UV bullet that can petrify zombie or vampires, which is kind of cool. It doesn't work if like you've just recently petrified them. So like, keep that in mind. But I'm interested because I do love sniping from in this game. I think that the sniper feels really, really good in this. So I'm curious to check out the Basilisk when I get a chance to jump in. But outside of that, a lot of the AI has still been tweaked. They've improved a lot of the combat. They've tried to make it feel like, like it's more natural. So like humans were never able to like crawl up onto things. Now they can actually like kind of pursue you and climb up onto things. So no more like hanging out on high rooftops and just sniping a bunch of the cultists. They've also improved a lot of the kind of pathing that happens because there was some weird funky pathing. And they've just gone and done a bunch of refinements, not only to like the actual gameplay of it, but also to like the UI. So like the map, there's a lot more kind of development around making sure like you can see your character, you can search stuff a little bit easier. Things are a little more contrasted so that it's like, it's not just kind of the same tone across the entire map. So you're not quite sure like what's what. They've just done a really nice job kind of going in. And now that they've got kind of like the big issues kind of behind them, now they're going in, we're starting to see a lot of these tweaks that they want to do. So instead of like the priority 0 or the priority 1 bugs, those are all taken care of now. 60 frames per second is knocked out. Now they can start moving to like the tier 2 and the tier 3 things where they can go and like, okay, now we can actually start to address some of the balance issues.
No, I agree. And it'll be, I know we heard, I want to say it was Pete Hines a while before he decided to leave, but like they want Redfall to keep living, to keep going. I'm very curious to see if that's actually the case. If it does get to do just that, that'll be fascinating to me. Like that'll be like, will this game have a second life? And I'm curious. I don't know.
Microsoft has done this before. We've seen it with State of Decay 2. We've seen this with Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves had 2 years of leash before they finally got like microtransactions to be able to like justify putting more money into the game. And a lot of content came during those first 2 years. We got all of the first year content, which was amazing. They built that all up. And then we got the anniversary edition, which brought in all Tall Tales in the arena and stuff like that.
That's when I jumped in, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, Redfall has an opportunity to have 2 years worth of leash to really kind of like build out all that stuff. And if they have, new stories where they find like nests of people in different areas or new bosses that have come as a result of the killing, the vacuum that was created by us killing all the other vampire gods. Totally feasible in this world. And I think that the world is beautiful enough that I wouldn't mind going to revisit it with new characters once like all the story and stuff like that has been worked out.
Yeah. No, I'm inclined to agree. And I've got my eye on it. Let's just put it that way. Like a simple, like, hope it gets there. I know I enjoy it. I get that I'm in the minority there and I respect that. But I think there's something to this game that people will latch onto eventually. So we'll see, but glad it's happening. Let's see. Another small story I thought, with all of the Call of Duty hoopla in the past 2 weeks or so since its early release, where you could just play the campaign of Modern Warfare 3. It got a 4 from IGN that brought a lot of attention. I was in dispute with that. I remain in dispute with just that aspect of it. whether or not the game's valuable or whatnot. It brought a lot of questions that preluded the Xbox tax debates about the Game Awards. But is Modern Warfare 3 good or bad? That kind of thing. A week after Modern Warfare 3's launch, Modern Warfare 3 players across all modes are playing more hours in game. Like the average users per hour is up over Modern Warfare 2 from last year. Modern Warfare 3 players are averaging more time playing the campaign compared to the campaign of last year. Also interesting. And I think that's likely curiosity, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
So, if anything, Rust is the number one map made. I'm sorry, map played right now. And that's that legendary 1v1 me bro map from the old Modern Warfare days. Terminal is the number one map played by hours, which is another classic Modern Warfare map. And in short, Activision's basically reporting that the game's doing quite well. And who would doubt that? I don't know. But for any discussions about critical scores or whatnot, players seem to be enjoying quite a bit of it. I'm anxious for you to get a good experience in Zombies because it's really fun.
Yeah.
But it is, I guess I'm glad to see this because, we jumped in, we got into it at the right time. We have season 1 of Modern Warfare 3 coming up in a few weeks. Zombies is getting a new, kind of some new tweaks as we head towards season 1. There's a new Warzone map coming in. Call of Duty offers a lot of game, no matter who like whatever version you have. You've got a lot of game at your fingertips, and it's updating pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I
think the discussion here is always about like what people feel is deserved for this franchise. Like, and unfortunately, Call of Duty has been very successful with the Modern Warfare reboots. Like 1 and 2 are really good games. Modern Warfare 3, understandably, had a shorter turnaround time, and a lot of people are talking about like how the content is recycled. This is just them kind of using like Warzone to kind of do their campaign. Like I've seen the arguments for why this is not that great of a game, and I don't disagree from their perspective. But additionally, I'm also factoring in like how much time did they have to turn around? Like the Pokemon games are in a bad place right now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that there still aren't millions of people buying and enjoying these games, even though they are buggy, ugly messes. Like the Pokemon company is continuing. So until people start voting with their wallets, they will continue to do stuff like this if they're pushed to do it, because this is very much a case of like, we need to get one more title out before the Activision Blizzard deal goes through so that we can pull in some money. This is like Kodak's like last thing, in my opinion. I have no basis for that. That's just my opinion. But to see them say like there's still a lot of people playing this game, it just goes to show like price isn't everything. That yes, this is $70. You are getting old maps. You are getting a campaign that's built off of the backbone of 2 and Warzone. You're getting a new zombies mode, which is effectively DMZ with no PvP and just all zombies built around it, which is not too unlike what they had. But if you've been playing Modern Warfare 2, you've been getting a lot of content for free. And I suspect that the same thing will happen with Modern Warfare 3 as well, too. So
I agree.
I think it's tough to be, because like some folks are looking at this and being like, oh, well, Halo's bringing back all their Halo 3 maps and they're just putting in Halo Infinite for free. And they just released a brand new battle pass that's also for free. Yeah. But Halo Infinite also had one of the roughest launches for continued game as a service content pass that they've seen. So there's a little mea culpa here that I think that folks need to keep in mind when it comes to this. And if Modern Warfare has to go through that, Modern Warfare, they'll go through it. It's fine.
I sincerely agree. I get a kick out of the nostalgic kick that several games are using to drive their engagement right now. Halo Infinite, which is now on great terms with its community and player base. And if anybody has co-op, Ainsley Bowden correctly pointed out that Halo Infinite deserves a community nod. It's very surprising they're not in there, because they've certainly turned their ship around. Maybe too little too late, that's not the argument, but their community communication and service has been incredible. They've got well over 20 maps, but the number I think is much higher than that. I just can't remember in this moment. But
Yeah.
they've done so much content in the last year. And right now they're doing a Halo 3 drive where like even Mountain Dew promotions are coming back, and it's all
Yeah.
nostalgia and people are loving it. I'm anxious for us to go back when the Firefight update hits. Like probably right around when you start getting into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, we're going to jump to Halo. But but
I know you
sincerely,
want me to bite. I'm not going to bite.
I'm so excited for us going back to Halo at some point because that game's in a great place, but it's using nostalgia to drive it. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Halo did it. Modern Warfare 3 is built on the nostalgia of the old Modern Warfare games. For goodness sakes, Fortnite just released an entire season, albeit shorter, but based on its old map. Now,
Yeah.
I don't have nostalgia for that, so I'm not there. But 45 million players concurrently showed up at the same time to check it out, and it's driving a ton of engagement. I don't think there is a problem with using nostalgia to drive engagement and give people something they enjoy. I realize that becomes a very niche style argument, especially when you get into game awards. Like a remake is built on nostalgia as well, but nostalgia is a powerful drug for users. And if it works well, and people are engaging with it, it means they want it. Um, and I don't think anybody should be dying on a hill of nostalgia bad. We need more creativity. It's like, no, no, no. There's a ton of creativity out there. Gaming is big. Gaming is big. Um, so I don't have a problem with a lot of this nostalgia driven content to some of these major players in games. Do you?
I will push back on this and say that I do think that there is a danger to it.
Mm-hmm.
When we start seeing publishers laying off large groups of studios and then blaming remakes, remasters, and nostalgia for their players driven like desires, and saying like, okay, well, I'm trying to find the actual article.
This sounds like correlation, not causation.
Help me out there.
Like it sounds like people are using that as an excuse. That's not actually a thing. I don't feel like that's a real reason to blame anything. Like I don't understand how the two are related here.
Because no one's buying into new IP, so there's less incentive to push on that. And so like, okay, for example, Amazon Games lays off 180 workers, stating that people only really want the free games that they deliver. 505 Games parent company, which is I believe Digital Bros, they laid off 60% of its workforce, says gamers really only want sequels, so that's what it's going to make, according to PC Gamer's article. So like 2 articles just this week about publishers who've basically said that remakes and free games nostalgia, like that's all that's really fueling the industry right now, so that's what they're going to focus on. They're not going to focus on new IPs.
I don't think that's a fair thing to do. Like it's a business. It's a business. You make what people want.
Yeah.
If you want to become popular, sometimes you take a risk and you get like Fortnite launch was not what people wanted. They pivoted, they got lucky, or they nailed it. Whatever it is, success. The finals is a game coming out that looks like it's doing a lot of crazy stuff. I don't think anyone's gonna play it. I just don't. And maybe I'm wrong. Like I think that's just par for the course in a business. I'll point again to that Brett Robbins interview. Like, yeah, new IP is hard. But he chose to make a new IP. It's what he wanted to make. He made something pretty darn cool, I think. But yeah, new IP is hard. But that is part of it. And blaming the gamers or consumers while you lay people off, not okay. Especially not from a place like Amazon or Epic, or how many of the like Embracer is laying off so many people. Like you don't get to blame gamers for that. You can blame your business practices, your budgeting, how many of these execs are taking cuts, but I don't think you get to blame IP or nostalgic IP or anything like that. I don't think that's a reality. People blamed multiplayer games or single player games at various points over the last 5-6 years, but like all these Game of the Year nominations are single player games. It wasn't previously. I think it was Overwatch that got the multiplayer.
Yeah, Overwatch I think is the only one that's actually won a game award from Keeley's Game Awards that was multiplayer.
Yeah, I just don't.
Well, it Takes Two and Elden Ring, Sekiro I think has some multiplayer. I don't know if you can invade.
But I don't think that's the same.
It Takes Two is most definitely multiplayer though. It's in the name.
Yes, I just don't think that's the same. I think that's apples and oranges. I don't feel like that's the multiplayer game. You know what I mean? Like Elden Ring has multiplayer, but that's not a multiplayer game.
I just wanted to like clarify. Technically, the word multiplayer works, but we're talking about like service games as like broad scoping, like massive teams going up against each other, not like couch co-op or something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't disagree that they shouldn't be blaming the gamers for that, because it's where the market leads, and wherever the market leads is what's going to drive the industry to move in that direction so they don't get left behind. It just sucks to see like the things that are getting praise are things that we already have, just looking better in some cases. In other cases, they're getting completely remade. And I understand like that takes a lot of work and effort and should have some, especially if they change it from the original, definitely, a remake or a reimagining of a game. That has come out takes a lot of effort and thought that goes into that, whereas a remaster is just kind of a scaling up process and a compatibility process. So there's I can't think of, I think Private Division's one of the big ones. They do a lot of the ports and stuff for like Switch titles. So that's effectively like what they do. They do a lot of porting, but they do a lot of scaling work as well too. So it's just one of those things where I think nostalgia at its base is fine. I love nostalgia. But at the same time, it's dangerous because it's a dangerous drug to get addicted to. If you start feeding too much into nostalgia, then that's what dominates the market. And next thing you know, you've got the DeLorean in every game.
Right.
And that's kind of that's the concern that I think I have with it, is where we get oversaturated with nostalgia to the point where nostalgia becomes the nostalgia. And we're losing stuff like Immortals of Avium or Forspoken or new IPs that people aren't giving a chance because it's too easy to pick up the comfort food that we already have.
Right. Okay. I understand the argument. I'm just not fully on board. I think it's more nuanced, but I don't have a good like.
It really is. It's tough to dig into, and I know we're trying to like nitpick here on little things and call out specific examples and stuff like that, but I think that Capcom does the best at showcasing a balance where they come out with Resident Evil remake for 2, and then they have like 7, which is a new one, and then they have 3, which is a remake, and then they have 8, and then they have 4 is a remake. And it's like they're still trying to build new games for their like they're still coming out with new content and new they're pushing the series forward while also trying to make sure that people are caught up with the past, so the story helps kind of make sense in some cases, but at least gives players what they want, which is like kind of that old nostalgia drip feed going into their system, while playing the new stuff that they're falling in love with as well too. And that's the delicate balance that I think a lot of these companies should probably pay attention to when it comes to bringing back old IPs.
I think that's fair. I'm on board with that one. Any other comments on kind of Modern Warfare or nostalgia or any of the kind of smaller stories that we've mentioned?
No, I think I kind of got what I wanted to say, especially with some of those games. It's kind of a bummer that Modern Warfare 3 isn't the celebrated thing that I think we were hoping it would be when leading up to it, because of us jumping into 2 as like for the Halloween update. But I think it always goes back to find the fun and being able to, even if people are reviewing stuff poorly, like I think Modern Warfare 3 averages out to like a 5 for IGN. we are still having a lot of fun with it, and the numbers still show that other people are having a lot of fun with it. Like lobbies are still full. Like you're still jumping into games pretty darn quickly, regardless of mode.
It is funny because it's just more Modern Warfare 2, which everybody loved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing. It's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
So it goes. So I think the next logical topic here has to be the Game Awards. We got the nominees announced. There is a substantial, or let me rephrase that. There is a noticeable lack of Xbox IP in the majority of categories. And I think a lot of people are reacting to that in such a way that perhaps lacks a bit of nuance. I mean, I put in the thumbnail Game Awards snubs because I think that's the conversation. I think the debate is it a snub? Is it not? Is Starfield supposed to be in there? Is Forza Motorsport getting its recognition? Hi-Fi Rush, where does that stand? I looked
Yeah.
at the list of Game Award nominees, and I didn't see a single bad game or game that I thought didn't belong on there.
So
And
for those who haven't seen the list, what is the list?
so the list of, and this is the game of the year from Jeff Keighley. Okay, Jeff Keighley's nominations. The game of the year nominees are Alan Wake 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Spider-Man 2, Resident Evil 4, Super Mario Wonder, and The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. And when I look at that list, Logan, I don't see a single bad game. I have played 3 of them. I have interest in playing 2 more of them, and rock on, right? I don't see a single game. Like Stray to me was a substantial outlier. It did not seem to belong in the list, at least from the outside looking in. For any goodness that it had, it didn't feel right. But I don't look at this and feel like, oh, one of these doesn't belong in a game of the year list, particularly in such a stacked year. So between the lack of Xbox representation and the Hogwarts Legacy controversies, because it was very much not nominated in the Game of the Year awards for Keeley's.
Yeah.
That those 2 things I think stood out as talking points for a lot of people. And in those talking points lacked quite a bit of nuance, at least in my mind, for what should be happening, right? At least that is my take. What was your take when you saw the list?
I definitely felt like there were some titles that deserved some love. And it's still to this day kind of boggles my mind that in a year where we have this many Game of the Year nominations, why does it have to come down to 6? And I guess that's just because people will be forced to like kind of narrow it down even further. Like if you had to pick one of 6, that's easier than one of 15. And the votes have to be, something that sways to that. But it was kind of a bummer to see that there weren't any Xbox titles in there, especially given the number of first party content that came out this year from Xbox, and some of it being really, really good. I'm not knocking Minecraft Legends, but I can see why like a lot of folks probably didn't jump into Minecraft Legends.
Sure,
I can see why a lot of people didn't jump into Redfall, but Starfield is a really good game. It is the best Bethesda game that studio has put out. It is really, really good. It's not like a masterpiece by any means. There's definitely issues that I had with it. But overall, I would say I dumped a heck of a lot of time. I can't pull it up right now, but I dumped a heck of a lot of time into that and fully completed it. Really enjoyed it. And the only reason I dropped it was because of Cyberpunk. I probably would have still been playing that up until Assassin's Creed, if not for Cyberpunk. But to see that in there over something like Super Mario Wonder, which, albeit is a solid game and a very well done game, it doesn't do anything that interesting. Like it's kind of just the normal 2D Mario that I see, just with, instead of like a cat suit, it's an elephant this time. And I don't really see it really doing anything. So for me, like Game of the Year nominations, I wanted to do something where it is pushing the industry forward. Like Overwatch changed shooters and put action shooters on the market. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt changed what action RPGs did.
Agree.
The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild changed what open world narratives and traversal could do. God of War changed how to tell a story with no cuts, without cutting between things. Like it was constantly telling you the story. You never cut away from it. Sekiro changed like what a FromSoft game could look like in a world that no one expected it. The Last of Us Part 2 was an amazing piece of narrative that I still haven't played. It Takes Two changed what I think couch co-op could mean and really introduced some design elements that you don't typically get to see with the caliber that was brought to it. Elden Ring took what Sekiro and Breath of the Wild did and expanded upon that and opened it up to a world of gamers who would never have touched a FromSoft game because of those RPG elements. I think that for me, the list that we have going into this, Resident Evil 4, while a really good remake and does something different and well executed, did not change anything to push the industry forward. Maybe for what remakes could do, but I think that Final Fantasy VII remake already had done that and did not get an award for that. And Super Mario Wonder did not really push the needle in my mind. So those are two where I think like those are something that I think other games probably could have been put in there that had, maybe like pushed the needle forward. Things like Hogwarts Legacy not getting put into the nominations, I think is a real bummer because the music in that is amazing. The world building it's a solid game. It is a really, really solid game. And while you may not, like myself, support J.K. Rowling, it's hard to ignore the people that put the work into that after playing it. But overall, I still think that this is a really good list. But I've only played one of the games.
So there are a couple pinpoints as you were talking about. Like, I don't feel like any game in here. Let me rephrase that. I think only 2 games in here do something on the level of God of War or The Witcher, right? That really change something. I only think 2 of those games do it. And those are Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3. Spider-Man 2 is the realization of the vision they had with the first Spider-Man that was refined and improved upon with Miles Morales. And I feel like Spider-Man 2 is just the pinnacle of superhero games right now and is fantastic. Super Mario Wonder looks like more Mario, which is not a bad thing, right? Like we just talked about nostalgia. Cool. Like I'm in favor of that. I support that. My wife loves Mario Wonder. Legend of Zelda looks to me like more Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, with an added element of buildcraft. And cool. I don't think that's a bad thing either. But only Alan Wake 2 and Baldur's Gate 3 changed the game, as it were, in a way that, say, Breath of the Wild did at its time, God of the War did at its time, The Witcher did at its time. Overwatch did it at its time. So I think that's kind of the difference. I don't think anything other than Alan Wake or Baldur's Gate could get the nod this year for that particular thing. I do want to comment on Hogwarts real quick. Whether it's game of the year or action game or adventure game, whatnot, I do think that Hogwarts is deserving of more looks, and it felt like they were avoiding the J.K. Rowling controversy as a reason to not put it in there, because the game is beautiful. The game plays exceptionally well. If you are a Harry Potter fan, you get to live in that world in an almost identical way to how Jedi Survivor lets you live in the world of Star Wars in the best way. Jedi Fallen Order lets you play in that Star Wars universe in a way that you never had before. So it felt like they were just avoiding a problem. And I think that's really silly and embarrassing. And if you are dying on a hill that Hogwarts Legacy shouldn't be included because J.K. Rowling's bad, then you lack nuance and vision towards the greater issues. If you're saying that on a device that's been crafted by a major corporation, from your iPhone, from your Samsung, from anything else, then you're just choosing what to be outraged about, but you're okay with child labor crafting your Gorilla Glass or your electronics or your whatever. Like, it's a strange argument to say. And the amount of people that crafted Hogwarts Legacy, that put effort and time into this, that took a world that was created by somebody who has now revealed themselves to be not admirable. They took that world and made it their own. And the wizarding world does not belong to J.K. Rowling. It belongs to everyone who has lived in that world for fun and enjoyment and passion. And so I think you're really doing yourself a disservice if you're avoiding that game in order to be outraged. If you're avoiding the game on principle, rock on, do you. But if you're choosing to be outraged because you want to be outraged, then you need to get a life and you're a jerk. Simple as that. That's
Yeah.
what I think.
Especially given that this is like, it sold 12 million copies in the first 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's like God of War level. That's like Spider-Man 2 level of like sales. Like, that is a PS exclusive first party AAA over the shoulder action adventure game level of quality that is getting ignored at this point. And it kills me because I mean, I love the Hogwarts world, so I'm biased in this, and it sucks because the creator has shown them their true colors, but history is built off the backs of people who have abused other people and denied other people rights. So, you know, all you can do is really like look forward and champion the people that are in, you know, who are being oppressed in situations like this. And it sucks. And the best way to do that is, you know, support where you can and make choices where you can. And it's a real bummer, but I think if this was one of those, like, we want to remain politically safe, and because of that, we're not going to put Hogwarts Legacy in the narrative for nominations because we don't want to draw attention to it. That sucks, because
it does suck.
The people that labored over that deserve the accolades for the quality of game that we got, that no one except for a small portion of people saw that and thought, oh, that's going to be a great game. It's kind of like how we feel about Avatar right now. Like, I think a lot of us in our community think Avatar is going to be great. I don't think a lot of people are really looking to Avatar as going to be a great game, but I think a lot of people are going to be surprised by how good that game is going to be.
Yep.
And I'll eat crow on that one.
I don't think you need to. I'm interested in Avatar for the same reasons, and a lot of people in our community are as well. And that speaks to another aspect. I think we wax poetic about our community pretty much week in and week out, but finding people that enjoy games for the sake of enjoying games and are not angry for the sake of being angry is really important to your mental health and to your enjoyment of video games in general, particularly given the direction that our social platforms have gone. I find a lot of joy in using Threads. I don't get a lot of engagement, whatnot, but I find a lot of joy in Threads because it's not nearly as toxic or vitriolic, and it doesn't reward controversy, whereas YouTube and Twitter X do reward controversy. And it's definitely changed the engagement of this show, but I'm much happier not being angry about everything. I can't be. I don't have it in me to be angry about everything. Hogwarts is a great game. It's not the game that I wanted because I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but in just 5 to 10 hours of that game, this game was a love letter to Harry Potter fans. And there were several moments where they spotlighted equality, creativity, and multiple communities that had been condemned by Rowling. And I thought that was beautiful. And I hope that people do go play Hogwarts Legacy, just as I hope, in a very different way, they go play a lot of these games that might have been overlooked for their release dates or for timing or whatnot. It's important to support creators that not creators like content creators, but like people that create games and execute visions. It's rewarding. I think. And Game Awards, I think, missed the mark here.
I think it's fair to say that we tend to champion a lot of the underdogs here, and I think rightly so, because there's enough content creation being done about the big triumphs of the year, and so often so much falls through the cracks. Like, nobody's talking about Armored Core. That was a solid game. It's a shame that game is not getting any kind of conversation right now. Sea of Stars, same thing. Amazing game.
They got
a lot of people really love it.
Little categories, but no one is talking about them.
Right. Yeah, no one's talking about it because the big thing is to talk about like what the Game Award Game of the Year's things are. So apologies to any of the things that you personally, listener, are in love with. If we don't talk about those, it's not because we don't we don't want to. It's because there's only so much amount of time that we really want to put into a show for this kind of stuff, which kind of makes me want to push into the Suicide Squad conversation if we have time.
Yeah, we do. I want to make one final point for Game Awards, if you don't mind, and that is that several Xbox games are in the running. Hi-Fi Rush is in there for a couple different categories. Forza Motorsport is in for a couple categories, particularly being accessibility, which was really cool. I know that we are going to talk about our favorite games of the year later on this year, like what we think the game of the year was later on. I need more time to play in more stuff, and I'm happy to change my mind as we go on, right? But I was glad to see that accessibility was something Xbox was well represented in. And I will say on Game of the Year in Starfield very quickly, that is probably my game of the year at the moment, and I am totally okay with it not being in this list. The game has a lot of flaws. That I think that Spider-Man 2 is a more refined experience. Even Mario Wonder and Resident Evil are more refined experiences. And I think there's time on a different day whether or not remakes and remasters belong in these type of discussions. But for now, Logan, it's not like Resident Evil 4 is a bad game, right? Like that's I get the discussion point. And I think there is a level of remake ability that you have to be considered. But like Resident Evil 4 is not bad at all. It's pretty darn great. I loved that game, and I encourage everybody to go play it. But if your game wasn't nominated, take the time to go thank those devs. Go talk to them. I was in a unique position where I got to tell Brett Robbins that I really appreciated his work. I get to do that a lot with interviews. But reach out to them. It means a lot. Here's a little inside baseball. When I DM Harvey Smith, who makes Redfall, I'm just thanking him for making a game that I enjoy. That means a lot to developers. So do that. Do that if you want to champion a game.
Just don't do it on a daily basis.
No, that's weird.
That's weird.
That's weird. Yeah, don't do that. Do you have an experience? Is this an experience? Like, where'd that come from?
I'm just saying, just like, be careful.
Yeah, Logan has a restraining order.
No, I don't.
Nope, it's fine, buddy. He's just not allowed on the Blizzard campus for another 6 months.
Yes, I am.
They can't deny me.
I know how to get him back. There's 2 campuses. People don't know that.
All right. I got to go to Insomniac. I trespassed on their lawn. I got that picture. Oh, man.
I'm happy to say that I have been in the main campus as well as the adjoining buildings, but I've also been to the secondary campus and had lunch at one of the restaurants that's like next door to it. And the food there is fantastic. And they absolutely love and adore all of the Blizzard people because it brings them so much business, but their food is actually really good. So shout out to the random restaurant that's next to the campus because their food is just amazing. And you get to run into people who are like the game directors for Overwatch and be able to tap them on the shoulder and be like, hey, I love your game. Thanks. And he's like, oh, cool. Who's your main? And I'm like, Mercy. He's like, oh, I am sorry. Because Mercy had just gotten like a bunch of recent nerfs and stuff. And I was like, nah, it's cool, dude. She was pretty overpowered. I understand. Yeah. I still love her though.
Did I share on this show what happened when we went to Insomniac? Did I talk about like when we went to go eat across from the way?
No, I don't think. Oh, I think we talked about it when we were gaming, but I don't think that we talked about it on the show.
Okay, very brief sidebar here. Joseph Moran was in town, pretty darn cool. We went to a local burger place, like not a chain restaurant, that is across from Insomniac because we wanted to show Joe where Insomniac was, right? And we kind of trespassed into the lobby to take a picture next to an Insomniac sign, but like we didn't go into Insomniac or anything like that. I'm okay with it. But we went to this local place, and when we went in, my awkward self, I was the third of 3 to order. And when I went up there and was ordering my like burger or whatever it was, I was like, hey, do people from Insomniac walk over a lot? And this girl had no idea what I meant. She goes, Insomnia Games? What's that? I was like, they make Spider-Man? And she's like, oh, that's really cool. That's neat. I don't know. And then she started like flirting with me, which I was extremely like, I just kind of like was very confused by. I dropped like 4 things. I knocked something off the counter. In this, I was like, oh, and then, like She's like, well, if you come back, I'll be here. And like I knocked over like some salt or something. It was so weird. But it all started from me trying to talk to this hostess person. I was like, do people from Insomniac come here? And she was like trying to like give me flirty eyes and give me her number. And I was just like, no, I'm worried about the people that make Spider-Man. Are they here? Like, is Brian Intihar in the room? It was just this funny, dumb thing. But it was a moment where I was like, woof, I don't have game anymore. I just like knocked over all this stuff. And I was like, can I have mustard? Thank you. It was so funny. Maybe
That's
I didn't tell that
great.
story well, but it was funny. It was funny.
I love being at the age where I don't care at all about having game.
Oh yeah, I did not care. I wanted to know if the Insomniac people walked in.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I cared about.
I don't care if you're here. I want to know if someone from Insomniac's here.
That's right. It's like, it's a pretty little thing. I'll be here. I was like, yeah. But
That's cool. Let me know if you who are here see this person from that studio.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, man. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. This is interesting because obviously the game was announced and showcased over a year ago at this point. The game did not get well received. A lot of downvotes on YouTube. People were very upset, as it should. Very frustrated by what Rocksteady is bringing to the table. Context for any listener who happens to be new to the show or is unfamiliar: the Arkham series are my favorite quadrilogy of games. I love the Arkham universe. The three from Rocksteady are incredible. I also appreciate the one out of WB Montreal. I love Batman, and I was very disappointed to see that they were making a live service game based on the villains. And a lot of people did get really upset with it. It's got 21,000 dislikes, 11,000 likes. It seems very clearly that the community is not happy with what this game is. It's very reminiscent of Avengers. You're playing as the Suicide Squad, shooting a lot of glowy things, going around battling Brainiac's robots, which is you battled robots in Avengers. Really, really disappointed with this in a lot of ways. Even with the new trailer, the 20-minute deep dive, which I'm putting in the YouTube version and hoping I don't get flagged for it because it is a public one. But I'm putting it in here. We'll see. I'm very curious to see if this gets well received when the game comes out, because Logan, they said some great stuff. They showcased some really good story that you would expect from Rocksteady. The graphics look amazing. They have a metropolis that is over twice the size of what Gotham was in Arkham Knight, which is no small feat. But I felt like that was a slap in the face to somebody who they're like, hey, we just made a perfect metropolis. You don't get to play as Superman, but you can play as King Shark in a Superman outfit. So I was really disappointed with what this game is. I know I'm going to play it. I'll probably play it a lot because I like Gotham Knights and I like DC and I liked Avengers, but this is just next gen Avengers. And I'm really sad that this isn't a single player game. This isn't a superhero game. And I think my heart's a little broken with DC lately.
I mean, it's been hard to be a DC fan, both in the film realm and in the game realm, probably in the last 10 years. This was interesting to me because folks that know, like from the beginning of this year, I knew this game was getting delayed. I knew this game was coming in way too hot. And I told you and I told everyone, this game's getting booted to 2024. Yep. I don't care what anyone says. And we got a release date, February 2nd, 2024. It's coming to all the consoles, as well as PC. And the interesting thing to this was, and I had this discussion in the XEP Discord, was that traversal is such a core mechanic for this game that it kind of belies the nature of the people that you're playing, to the point where this first episode had to be a deep dive for a justification of the traversal. And what I mean by that is, like, you're going to be hopping from rooftop to rooftop. You're going to be climbing buildings. You're going to be swinging from I don't even know what this thing is. It's like a bat wing, but it's like
they stole Justice League tech to give them traversal.
Yeah, they effectively they were in the Justice League Hall of Heroes, and they stole stuff from like the display cases. Which, who has that on display cases for
with
people
fuel?
Walking? Yeah, working things that they just like have on, just like a break glass in case of an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And they're playing around with this. There's a 10-minute narrative of them figuring out how to traverse a world. And that to me kind of it's concerning, because if that is the core mechanic and that is the thing that they want to dive into, and that is the majority of their quote unquote story and gameplay video,
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried, because I already get it's Brainiac, he's controlling the Justice League, and you have to go try and kill the Justice League. Like, it's in the title. It's like it's about as surface level as I think you could possibly get with a narrative. I don't know how much more depth there is to this. That's the part that I will be interested in finding with this game, because that's the part that I think I will be the most engaged with. But also, I think they've done a really good job with the actual traversal. Like, I'm not gonna lie here. Like, after looking at this video compared to playing Gotham Knights right now, I think the traversal in this feels more fluid and looks more interesting to me. And I like that it's unique. It's kind of like playing the most recent Mickey Mouse game that came out on Switch. It's a 2D platformer Metroidvania with no attacks. But each of the characters has traversal that is, it's the same thing, but it's each person has their own individual way of doing it. And I think they've done a good job of recognizing that it can't just be, oh, everybody has a double jump. Everybody gets like a swinging batarang thing. Like, I like that, because I think that's what's going to feel unique about these characters in a world where these characters are very unique. Like, I love Captain Boomerang. I love Harley Quinn. I am a little concerned that Tara Strong is playing Harley Quinn, and I haven't heard one pudding from her, because it's very important to me.
Yeah.
But I do like the premise of this, of fighting the Justice League. I don't think I need Brainiac to make the villain, or to make the heroes villains. I think you just have the villains be villains instead of them. Like, why would the Justice League be destroying all of Metropolis? It's like, well, they don't have to. Like, Brainiac could be invading, and the Justice League could be trying to stop Brainiac, and you're just trying to stop the heroes,
or do what you want to do.
Yeah, because you're villains. Like go play GTA in Metropolis. Like, I think that is enough for me. And having the Brainiac layer on top of the kill the Justice League thing, it feels unnecessary and shoehorned. And I want to be proven wrong on that. I really do, because I think that superheroes who are locked to their moral centers can be boring. I think that's why Superman tends to be the most boring. It's why Captain America tends to be the most boring, because they are the most like positive law enforcement. I can't think of like what the D&D alignment.
They're meant to be uncorruptible, and that's why they had to do Civil War for Marvel. That's why they had to bring in Darkseid and the Nightmare element for Superman. They've got to give them moral quandary, because they're meant to be such upstanding characters. That's part of it. Yep. And
I think the Brainiac aspect brings that interesting element to put them without moral, to morally corrupt them when we normally wouldn't see. So that's what I'm curious to venture into with this.
I think I'm so brokenhearted, because Rocksteady clearly knows how to make good games. This game is going to be, it looks like it's going to be very playable. Traversal is going to be really cool, but this is not what I want it to be. And maybe I'm just, again, I'm going to play it. I'm not aloof to that reality, like, because I played a ton of Gotham Knights. I got that 1K. I'm going to go back in and do Showdown with Ellery at some point, and Heroic Assault. But I see that Superman in that double the Gotham Knight size world. Let me fly around as Superman or as Green Lantern. Let me run around as Flash. Let me do that traversal with Batman. Let me see what Wonder Woman's whip looks like if I'm using that to traverse. There are just so many options that it could be. And like, shoot, Logan, I would be okay, call it DLC or whatever, if we have this game and then there's a Superman game built in the exact same world. Okay, don't care. but this is clearly not what people want. Continuously downvoted all around. I don't think this is a case of console war style downvoting or anything else. I think this is a community saying, hey, nobody wants Rocksteady making an Avengers 2. Like, we want them to be making more single player games. Look at the Game of the Year nominees. They are single player games. People want single player experiences. Everyone's chasing that games as service live service, and WB came out last week. I don't think we talked about it last week. And they're like, we're trying to make more games as a service games. And it's like, yo, bro, clearly with Gotham Knights, people told you they didn't want that. And you started to pivot, but didn't have enough time to fully get away from it because there's clearly mobile game elements in that and games as service elements that are just too
mobile
much.
Games?
Yeah, there's a mobile game element in Gotham Knights that was clearly there at one point and stripped out.
Interesting.
Like okay. You can just see it in its core design. But the continuous negligence by WB, by David Zaslav, by DC Comics to what their audiences are saying is why you get the Batman from Matt Reeves next to Wonder Woman 1984. Why you get the Snyder Cut, which is the best reviewed DC film, next to Shazam or Aquaman. Like, it's why you get these. It's why you look at The Flash, which had everything designed for it to be what people wanted, and then they spit in everyone's face, including the good parts of it. And so it's very frustrating because this feels like more tone deafness.
I agree, but I also disagree. Because
you're ugly.
Like, I know, stop making fun of me. Get bullied all the time. No, look, everyone says that they want single player games. Every single player game gets nominated for the Game of the Awards. You know what says contrary to that? All the people buying microtransactions in games as a service.
That's fair.
Because I can't remember how soon it was, but there was a video that, funny enough, a conversation that I had with a buddy of mine where one of the developers for StarCraft 2 was like talking about games as a service and microtransactions. Mm-hmm. And he said that he spent, I think it was like 3 or 5 years working on StarCraft 2. And
yeah, you told me this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the moral of the story is that the first pony that they released in World of Warcraft that was a microtransaction sold more than all of StarCraft 2 had ever made. Mm-hmm. One pony. It was a microtransaction. So the market speaks. People buy microtransactions. We buy microtransactions constantly. Mm-hmm. And then we constantly complain about how they aren't just making single player games. It's like, well, we are the problem. We are the ones that are giving them the money for the thing that is not the thing that we should be giving them money for, which is the single player games. The Mortals of Aviums, they're the new IP out there. And I know I'm getting on my soapbox, so I'll stop. But
no, you're fine. You're not defending me. There is a reality to what you're saying.
But I recognize, like, when I start to go on to my old preaching kicks here, but I think Suicide Squad will do really well. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, like, what those microtransactions are going to be for the games as a service, especially if they continue the story on this. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing that I think I want the most out of these games as a service, is a continued press into the story. Like, if you're going to make a game as a service, don't just give me cosmetics and new random missions that are fodder. Give me like story elements to it, like expand upon the lore, do something interesting, add new villains to it, things like that. I don't want to just like have a reason to go buy a new skin because there's a new mission coming out. Like, that's boring to me.
What you were saying is true about single player versus multiplayer, microtransactions, but there is room for both. And I don't think Suicide Squad is going to do well after its initial launch. I don't expect it to do well after a certain amount of time. Where Gotham Knights, I think, went astray was not bringing Batman as a playable character, because he's in the game as a playable character in the tutorials and stuff. Had they done that, they would have got a huge influx of people to check out Heroic Assault Mode and Showdowns, which are a whole DLC with new achievements and stuff. There are ways to serve your community while still executing a vision. And like, so panicked is the DC community that the Wonder Woman game that is in development, there were job listings that suggested it was a games as service, and people were like, what? And DC had to come out and be like, no, it's still single player. It's still single player. And it's like, all right, now I'm gonna buy that too because I love DC, but I don't know. I don't see them treating their community with respect. That's just, I think, the long and the short of it. So
I think they're feeding the community exactly what their numbers show them.
I don't. Gotham Knights disappointed.
Gotham Knights disappointed, but I think that has a lot to do with, like, I agree with what you're saying. The community wants more Batman, and they're saying that.
Player.
Well, single player, yeah. I see where you're going with this. Okay, I'll contest.
Well, I'm sorry. You mean like you want to keep debating it?
I'll concede. Sorry, not contest.
Oh, I was like,
I'll concede.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is a good topic for another time for sure, right?
Yeah.
And I want more people to weigh in because I know I'm going to be checking out the game regardless. I have a vested interest in DC. I emailed their PR and said I want to cover this game, and I plan on covering it regardless, just as I did with Gotham Knights. But I think there is a sincere pushback, and I'm just curious to see what people think. And so please weigh in comments or Discord or something. Let us know, because I'm curious if we are off the mark, if we are niche interest levels or what, because I don't see Suicide Squad living past its first battle pass. We'll see.
I have one final question that I want to throw to you. Do you think at some point the Suicide Squad was going to be a Justice League game, and that's why we're seeing like Shark with a Superman costume and Boomerang who can run really fast because of the gauntlet, as Flash, and Harley Quinn would have been Wonder Woman? Like, do you see this at one point being a Justice League game against Brainiac, and they didn't think that was interesting enough or unique enough?
That's a really good theory. I don't think that, given the interest of Suicide Squad from DC. DC really wanted Suicide Squad to be a thing. Then they saw David Ayer's version and they destroyed it. So we got that really mishmash movie with a bad version of, with a really misrepresented version of Jared Leto's Joker and the characters. It was not what Ayer had made. And then we saw them try to be used in other ways. We saw a Harley Quinn movie that tried to be successful, whether you liked it or not. It wasn't what it was supposed to be. So they made Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, and that was kind of its own weird thing. And then they allowed James Gunn to tackle Suicide Squad, and then they made Peacemaker. And like, DC has a vested interest in getting away from their heroes because they are struggling to write their heroes. The exception of Batman, they are struggling to get their heroes right. And so I think that's what's actually happening. And they were like, how can we bring in different gameplay elements? Well, the Justice League have all different gameplay elements, hence the gauntlet on Boomerang, hence the jetpack on Deadshot, hence the grapple gun with Harley Quinn, none of which any of these things have been used by the characters as mainstay with things. So I think that's what happened. But your theory is equally as plausible. It is just as possible that was the case. But I think the Superman suits and the pre-order outfits, which look good, by the way, are a reaction to the negative feedback, not a I don't think they planned to do that. I think they were like, okay, we've got to earn some goodwill back. And to be clear, I think they did with this trailer. I still just don't think it's enough.
I don't know that they did, honestly, just based on the voting for YouTube, which is, probably the best source for understanding like when people are discontent. Like, it's way better than when you actually like see like review bombing, because review bombing tends to be a coordinated effort. Like YouTube like and dislikes, since they removed the dislike feature, like to be able to see how much it has. Most people don't see like how much the actual dislikes are anymore. But yeah, like the 2-to-1 ratio on the dislikes, that says a lot about the people just not happy with this being what it is. It's got a long ways to go to prove to the audience that it's going to be a really good game, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. We've got months of content to come.
True. And they've got a rollout of free and paid content. So I will eat crow, because again, for the 400th time, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to play this. I liked Avengers because I got to be an Avenger. Maybe I'll like this one, but we'll see. Logan, we've got listener questions and Black Friday sales galore. You put some good call outs for Black Friday sales. I was really disappointed with the amount of discount on these games. I was really expecting deeper discounts, and I think it speaks to the industry of kind of where we're at with inflation and the cost of games. I put that out on Twitter. I was like, maybe this is anecdotal, but I was surprised that some of these weren't deeper discounts. And I got a lot of people saying same. And again, anecdotal, my social timelines, but I was surprised it wasn't as cheap in some places.
Yeah.
But Black Friday sales are out there. There is a chance to get into some great video games. You put some good ones in our kind of show notes. Is there anything you wanted to spotlight as like, yo, I'm getting this?
Nothing that I'm gonna get because I have most of these. But I do want to let folks know, like, of the games that you may have been holding out for that are not on Game Pass, Diablo 4 is at $53.99 right now. The Crew Motorfest is $41.99. Hogwarts Legacy is $41.99. Cyberpunk bundle is $63.99. That has the expansion. Dead Island 2, $44.99. Star Wars Jedi Survivors, $41.99. Resident Evil 4 Remake Deluxe Editions, $48.99. Immortals of Avium is $34.99. There's a lot of really good deals out there, especially for stuff that you may have been like waiting on that came out earlier this year. So if you wanted to jump into them and this is enough of a discount, go for it. The longer you wait, the cheaper it'll get. That's always going to be the case. But if it's something you've been yearning for, now's a great time to pick up these games because I think these are some of the better deals that you've been able to get since.
Agreed. I'm looking at let's see, I'm looking at all of these and I am surprised that like Immortals isn't under 30. Dead Island's not under 30. I will tell everybody, like, one of the games I want to go back to is Crew Motorfest. I really like that game. That don't sleep on that one. I'm surprised Diablo is not a deeper discount, given that it's got a season pass and such. But don't sleep on Diablo. They're doing a lot of great stuff with season 2, but really that core game is amazing. There's a lot of great video games here.
The Diablo one, I do want to call out because I didn't put this in the notes. The $53.99, that is 40% off of the $90 version.
Gotcha.
So that is one where it's like, and the deluxe edition, as far as I know, comes with one of the season pass redeems for the accelerated. So that's like 20 levels plus the premium. And Season of the Blood's actually a really good one to jump into with the quality of life changes that they brought in. Seasons are just going to get better. You don't have to redeem it right away. I saved mine for the second season instead of the first season. So you get a lot of content for the $90 version though.
Good. I like the Black Friday sales. I plan on at some point, maybe not Black Friday because they weren't. It's just kind of as I wanted to be. I wanted to get Atlas Fallen and Sonic Superstars. Sonic Superstars is down to 50 with it for the deluxe version, and it's like, yo, come on, man, 35% off versus like 50. Like that's what I was hoping for, but
yeah.
But there's a lot of great games still on sale, so I'm curious where we are. I will say there are already announced and showcased some incredible bundles for Xbox Series S and X. The X bundles are incredible. You can get a bundle for Series X less than the cost of a Series X with Diablo and Call of Duty, and I think one other at different outlets you should shop around. But like the bundles for hardware are baller right now.
Yeah,
baller.
So. Yeah, there's some really good deals on there. I know you can get Sonic Frontiers for $24 on
good game
Xbox. Trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, a couple. Was it 2 years ago? You could get a Series S for $200. That was a killer deal. Like that was the time to buy a Series S. I really considered buying a Series S at that point because I was like, it's just so cheap. It's cheaper than a Switch.
I'm using the mess out of my Series S, by the way, with that new chip, the
expansion
memory
drive.
Yeah, that was well worth my Black Friday. Yeah, I just float back up and down stairs and I just play the games. It's so much fun.
That's another one that I think I would have liked to have seen this Black Friday is a better deal on the cards because I think a lot of people have the consoles. I think a lot of people want the cards.
Yep. All right. Do you want to do some listener questions?
Yeah.
First question: always. Why did Snoop Dogg quit smoking?
Because it was for his health.
Yeah, right.
Why can't people just respect that?
Because it was the mainstay, not my Snoop Dogg. Let's see. This one goes to Nick Johnson. He's a patron, a recent patron at that. And he wrote this in on Discord. He said, question for the show. If you could recommend a person any video game that you think everyone should play, no matter their game style, what's your go-to game? Super Mario Brothers 3. It's a pretty great game. Pretty easy.
I mean, that is my all-time favorite game. Like,
is it really? That's cool.
Oh yeah, 100%, dude. I've Super Mario, like the Tanuki Mario was like one of the few tattoos that I have on my back. Like that is like, I will forever love Mario 3. I could sit down and play through Mario 3 any day for like 20 minutes and be completely satisfied. Like that'll change my mood like in a snap of the fingers. So yeah, that is 100% like a game that I think everyone should play. But I also recognize a lot of people not into those types of games anymore. So I'm trying to think of something that everyone, that if I could recommend any video game,
Bejeweled.
Everyone should. Bejeweled is one of my favorite. Bejeweled Blitz on mobile was one of my favorite games, man. And on Facebook, I used to play that daily. Oh, I loved those. I'm trying to think of a game that everyone should play, no matter their play style. What's your go-to game?
My answer is Mario Brothers 3 because it appeals to every play style. Like you can play it sweaty, you can play it casual. You can traverse a map. You see some brilliant art. It's cool level design. There's secrets if you want it.
Yeah.
So that's my answer to that question. Yeah, that's my answer to that question.
I'm trying to think if there's a game.
Rare replay. Everything rare.
Mario Kart 8.
Oh, that's a good answer. That's a good
Mario
answer.
Kart 8. It doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, what you like, what you don't like. Mario Kart 8's like, you need like 3 buttons for that. That's a hell of a game. The fact that that game has gotten like post-launch content the way it has, that it's a Wii U game for frickin' sake here. Sorry, I'll tell you, it's a Wii U game for sake. I mean, it's amazing that game has lived as long as it has, and they still haven't turned it into a live service game the way that everyone just kind of wants them to just make a Mario Kart game that's a live service game.
True.
But yeah, I would say Mario Kart 8. I think anyone and everyone should definitely jump into Mario Kart 8 if you had to pick one.
The Lord Sir Master Handler Fixer James Suddy asks, do you have or know any holiday gaming tradition that folks do with their family, console, or otherwise? For several years, we've had a rock band tournament during Thanksgiving, and it was epic. I don't, because my family, none of them are gamers except for me, which is a big letdown for me.
Yeah, same. I don't have any. I have traditions for films, like every holiday. Wife and I just caught my wife watching Santa Claus Without Me this morning. She was in the living room with all blanketed up and watching. She kicked on Santa Claus, and I was like, I have to go record a podcast now, or I can't sit down and watch this, but I really want to. So we usually do that.
One of my best memories of all time, though, is my parents at Disney World with my brother and I. We played FIFA 98. Like, my parents don't game. My brother and I game sometimes, but like not really.
I never talk about him.
I love my brother so much. I
feel like your brother is like that adjoined twin from that Arnold Schwarzenegger Mars movie, Total Recall, that you just don't talk about and we never see pictures of.
No, I keep a picture of my brother on my gaming, like when every night when I game, I look at it. It's just I love him greatly. He lived with me for a little bit as an adult, which I loved, but I don't know. Brother, like family sometimes struggle to communicate, but I love him tremendously. I miss him very much.
That's funny. I never hear you talk about
far.
him.
Yeah, just our schedules, different interests, that kind of thing. Last question. Okay, last question. This one comes from Todd Oxtra, patron, and he wrote in over on Twitter.
Yeah.
He says, with remakes and remasters all the rage at PlayStation, quick Luke note here, Last of Us 2 PS5 remaster is official, and it's coming out in February, which is an interesting timeline. Smart for PlayStation. And Nintendo as well. Do you think Xbox will look to any of their old catalog, Crimson Skies, Banjo, to get excitement for potentially new entries in those series? Todd, they darn well should. But I think the problem for them for so long was they lacked content that where they went from the Gears Ultimate Edition because it was quick, right? And then they did Master Chief Collection because it was necessary. Then they had to answer Xbox has no games narratives. And so that's where their focus has been. They fixed their hardware, they fixed their services. They have now fixed their first party catalog of content by either acquisition or development. And I think you're about to get into some serious goodness from Xbox. But I believe that you will start seeing those remasters, remakes start to happen from them. Probably, this is a guess, buddy, but like late 2024 and on, you'll start getting one here and there. But they had to answer the Xbox has no games narrative. And by acquisition and development, they've got it, man. They have got it. Like they are cranking on all cylinders now. You got quite a few first party titles, multi-platform or otherwise, in 2023. A lot of live service stuff is doing very well. And now with the content they've got, we're getting a Killer Instinct showcase this week on the 22nd. That is going to showcase the 4K remaster of Killer Instinct and the potential. It has the potential to showcase the future of that franchise. And the future of that franchise could be Killer Instinct proper, or it could be a fighter made in that vein with all the Xbox characters. We don't know. And I'm not trying to like overhype what it could be, but to answer that specific aspect, Killer Instinct is getting that 4K current gen update. It's a 2013 game. It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm kind of with you. I think the narrative that I've heard from like the leadership over at Xbox is that they're interested in letting teams do what they want to do and make projects that they're invested in. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that entails remakes or remasters. Xbox has smart delivery. A lot of the content that we have now from older generations has been upscaled. I think that team has done amazing work. I think that team could most definitely go back and continue that work. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the investment is there or if the desire is there, but the preservation aspect of it has been excellent. So for me, I don't think that they have to rely on the remakes and remasters just based on the content delivery system that they've got going right now with Game Pass and bringing new content to that, as mm-hmm. opposed to rehashing stuff that's already in that library.
Mm-hmm. I do want some remasters and remakes, and I think that's a good topic for another show, but I do want that to be a thing, even with smart delivery, but I just don't think the focus should be there at the moment. So
I don't know what I would want. Yeah.
Another time. For sure. Well, we'll see. Well, next week we'll be able to talk about that Killer Instinct. We'll be able to talk about Thanksgiving and Black Friday and such. But I hope that everybody has a fantastic week. Logan, where can they find you on their socials? And support Keelhauled?
I'm still over on X and Threads at CAPT_LOGUN. I'm still in the XCP Discord for the patrons who are fantastic. Outside of that, Keelhauled still going strong, still doing my thing over there. The new Skull of Siren Song Voyage is revitalizing what was fun about Sea of Thieves back when like Athena's chests in year one were a very rare thing. So definitely some fun to be had there. It's an opt-in situation, so you're not forced to do it. You don't have to if you don't want to, but I've seen some really fun stuff in Sea of Thieves as a result. And they've done some work. They're doing work. They're trying to bring in that PvE mode that's coming in December, and they've got a lot of content that they've put out so far. So keep up to that with Sea of Thieves if you guys are interested, or if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.
There you go. And guys, you can find me on socials at InsipidGhost. Keep an eye on XCP's timeline because I'm interviewing the War Tales team on Tuesday morning. That's actually my birthday, fun fact. And then I'll have that interview out probably on Wednesday because it's a 5:30 a.m. call time for me. So doing that interview, and then my socials will have links to that interview through the course of the week. But that's what's going on for me. Please consider supporting XCP over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass and have a great time gaming. Take care, everybody.